If you're considering moving to Spain and you're not resident in the EU and you want to know how to do it, this is the video for you. We're going to be looking at a deep dive on all things to do with the non-lucrative visa. And with me, I have the best person to explain it all, because I haven't got a clue really. This is Alex Radford from My Lawyer in Spain. Alex, thanks for coming along.
My pleasure.
We're going to be diving into these murky waters and trying to give people the most concise, all-in answer that we possibly can about who it's for, what it is, who it's not for, how it all works. So let's start. The non-lucrative visa, what is it, first of all?
So basically, anyone who wants to move to Spain and spend more than 90 days and 180 days, okay? So they want to live in Spain to retire or to reside here, okay? And basically, it means you're not allowed to work. It's non-lucrative. So,
okay. So this is for people who've decided really to commit, in very loose terms, more than half a year to being here. So it's people, second home owners, who want to be based more in Spain. It's for, I suppose not for holiday makers, is it? But it's for people who want to make that commitment.
In effect, Sean, basically, as you know, the tax year in Spain runs from January to December. And up until a few years ago, you could apply for the non-lucrative visa and come to Spain and not become a tax resident. But that now has changed. So in order to, you can apply for the non-lucrative visa, but if you want the renewal, you have to be here for more than 183 days. So in effect, Spain wants anyone applying for the NLV to become a Spanish tax resident.
Right, for obvious reasons.
For obvious reasons, yeah.
Okay, and who is it not for?
It's not for Europeans.
Okay, so we don't need to worry about this at all. So if you're a Belgian, Dutch, Irish,
yeah,
you don't need to worry about any of this.
No, so Belgium, Europeans want, when they intend to spend more than 3 months a year here consecutively, they have to apply for EU residency. And remember, a non-European, a Brit, an Australian, an American married to a European, they can piggyback off their EU residency from their spouse or partner.
Because a lot of Brits all of a sudden found that their grandparents were actually born in Ireland or something like that, and then they ended up being able to get an Irish passport, and that was their way in. I mean, we've got members of our team, 2 Brits, one of them has an Irish passport, and it enabled them to come in without any worries because they're married.
Absolutely, yeah. So basically, we act for lots of couples like that, EU resident spouse, come to Spain. They've got to get the visa, the EU, sorry, not the visa, it's EU residency within 90 days. And then we apply for their spouses, right? Because the spouse is limited to 90 days in 180 days. Here for 3 months, they've got to leave for 3 months. So, what I'm sure what will flush this out, the EU residency and the non-lucrative visa process is all about timing, because you've got to get all your documents ready, then you come to Spain and apply for it, and then you get it.
Okay. What are the requirements for the non-lucrative visa? What do if I don't know, say I'm British, I am, and I want to come over here, I want to commit to coming to live in Spain for maybe 9 or 10 months of the year, maybe even 12 months of the year. What do I need to prove? What do I need to show? Okay,
so basically the non-lucrative visa, Sean, is to come and live here. It's not for second home. It's not for a second home person. It's to come and live here, full stop, okay? Because otherwise you won't get the renewal. So basically what you need is a Spanish address. Okay.
Can that be a rental?
It can be a rental, yeah. Okay. And we'll come on to that. So a rental of at least, say, 6 months. Okay. Okay. You'll need your UK address or your address in your home country outside the EU. You'll need a clean criminal record certificate.
That's me out then.
That's I'm sorry. End of program today. No, but actually, Spain. People come to us and said, "Oh, I did something silly like 20 odd years ago." Listen, that will appear on your criminal record, but Spain tends to look back at the last 5 years.
Okay.
Okay. So if you have done something naughty,
so if you were drunk and disorderly as a student,
gone. That's gone. Okay. But if you did that 2 or 3 years ago, you would have to wait for 5 years until that has expired.
Okay, that's interesting.
Okay. So clean criminal record certificate. If you're coming as a married couple or in a civil partnership, you would need to prove that you're in that relationship. And that's really quite important, because if you come as a married couple, the financial requirements are for a married couple. If you're not married, the financial requirements are for individuals. Okay. So to give you an idea, an individual application or applicant has to prove financial resources of 28,800 euros.
Is that income or is that money in the bank?
Money in the bank, pension,
Okay.
income from rentals, but obviously not from work because you're not allowed to work. But a married couple have to prove 36,000.
Okay.
So
Because there's two of them.
Yeah, because there's two of them. But if you came as two individuals because you weren't married, you'd have to prove 36,000 euros each.
Right. Okay.
Right.
That's interesting. And are there any other financial requirements or any other requirements like healthcare? Because what the Spanish don't want to happen is for you to start relying heavily on their system but not paying taxes.
Absolutely.
Because they don't want you sponging off the state, I suppose, for want of a better phrase.
Exactly that. So you've got the clean criminal record certificate, and then you need a certificate from your GP or your doctor, wherever you're located, confirming you don't suffer from any nasty World Health Organization diseases, syphilis, typhoid, that sort of stuff. And then exactly what you're saying, medical insurance. So if you're under retirement age, private medical insurance. If you are British, for example, coming to Spain and you've retired, then you can apply for what's known as Form S1. And with that document, which you apply for from Social Security in the UK, you can plug into the Spanish healthcare system here.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Okay, that's good. You mentioned earlier that you can't earn an income.
Yeah.
What can you do or around that? What if you've got business interests back in the UK or something like that? This visa's not for you?
No, you're not. Basically, you're not allowed to work with this visa, right?
Okay.
So, and the application is submitted at the local Spanish consulate close to you. So in the UK, it's in Edinburgh, Manchester, and London. And they will look to see if you're still working, to see if you're still a company director.
Okay.
You have to prove that you have given up work. Now, the process takes, by the time you collate all the documents, it needs to be translated. It needs to be stamped with the apostille Hague. To collate all those documents takes 2 to 3 months. So it's only when you've got the appointment will we say, give up work. So people work up right up to the appointment.
Okay.
And they go along with all these documents, the financial resources, typically 12-month bank statements, UK bank statements or statements from your home country, proving you got the money in, proving you got the pension, financial resources, the medical insurance, the criminal record certificate, marriage certificate. Go along, present those documents, and basically the Spanish consulate take your passport off you. And you've told them when you want to come to Spain, okay? And they will then issue the visa and it will be valid from that date. And the visa is valid for 1 year.
Okay.
So you've then basically got a year to come to Spain. And then when you come to Spain, what we do for our clients, obviously we've helped them out with this process because actually, if you get it wrong, you could muck it up and you might not be able to reapply again.
Yeah. So it's worth investing in a few quid just to get it done properly with the help of someone like yourself.
Absolutely. Whether it's us or someone else, you use a professional to get the visa. And then when you come to Spain, we help them register on the Padrón, so on the census at the local town hall. And then we help them apply for their foreigner's identification card, their TIE card. And then they're good to stay.
And the Padrón bit is important, isn't it? Because it basically proves that you have an address.
Yes.
And it's important in two ways. One, to prove that you have an address, but also secondly, it's very useful for the town halls to be able to go, look, we've got so many inhabitants and so many foreign people, and it helps them to get a bigger budget to afford services and facilities and amenities for their residents. Absolutely.
So every extra person registered on the Padrón means that they get extra funds for nurses, firemen, police, all that sort of stuff, binmen. But what's really important is you can't have an Airbnb that was renewed week in, week out.
Okay.
You have to prove...
It's a long-term rental.
Long-term rental. At least, it varies from town hall to town hall, but at least 6 months. And we would always recommend that, let us review that rental contract, because we would insist, for example, that the landlord authorizes you to register on the Padrón.
Okay.
And if if it's a married couple, that they authorize both of you to register on the Padrón. And if you've got kids, the kids as well. So it's clear that when you go along to the town hall, everyone in the house can register on the Padrón.
So this is really a retirement visa, isn't it?
Yeah.
Because it's for people who have maybe reached that age and status in life where they're slowing down, or for people taking early retirement, or for people who've maybe sold their business and have a pot of money sitting in the bank and just want to slow down. But are there any age restrictions or requirements?
No.
Okay, so you can be as old as you feel.
Yeah. Absolutely. You can be as old as you feel. And for example, I talked about the Form S1. So if you have retired and your partner hasn't, then they can piggyback off that as well. So they would be entitled to plug into the Spanish healthcare system as well. Okay. So basically, if you aren't retired, you need private medical insurance. And basically, assuming you're in good health, you're looking at maybe a policy of €1,000 a year, okay? And that's fully comprehensive. If you are retired, you can plug into the Spanish healthcare system and off you go. And then the renewal, Sean,
I was going to say, what happens? So after that first year,
yeah,
what are the next stages?
Yeah, so basically after year one, you have to reapply. So basically, renew your visa and you get a renewal for 2 years.
And is that an easier process than the initial thing?
Yes.
You don't have to go out and find 1,500 documents and...
No, but 1,000 documents you do. Yeah.
Yeah.
But essentially, what you've got to prove is you've still got the financial resources. But for example, for a married couple, it's €36,000. Those amounts go up incrementally year on year on. But basically, you need to prove you've got €36,000. And because they're going to give the visa to you for 2 years, they want you to prove you've got twice that amount in.
Okay.
So that amount doesn't have to be in a bank account. But for example, if you had a pension of $20,000 per year, each or together or between you, then you'd have to prove that you've got the difference in a bank account.
Could you also base that in terms of value of stocks and shares, or does that not come into it? Is it physical hard cash?
It's generally speaking, it's money in the bank that if you needed money to live on, it's there.
Okay. Got it, rather than having to go to the States in Spain.
Yeah.
Okay.
But again, that's what I can say. We've never had people said to me, "Oh, I'm going to buy a property, but what's the likelihood of me getting the visa?" So, well, as long as you've got the financial resources, the clean criminal record certificate, you're in good health, and you've got an address in Spain, you're going to get the visa, right? We haven't had anyone who's been turned down for the visa.
Okay, so we've got the initial year, then we've got the 2-year renewal. What happens? I'm going to throw a bit of a curveball at you. What happens in that 2-year? Or what happens if during that 2-year period, one of us as a couple gets cancer or something like that, and then we want to, apply and maybe become permanent residents? Is that going to affect our status?
No, not at all. Okay. Not at all. I mean,
So it's basically not coming to the country with any big problems. If you get big problems while you're here, it's okay. But
even so, we've got clients who come here. They've got medical conditions. They're retired. They apply for Form S1. They plug into the Spanish healthcare system and they receive their medication here. Okay. So it's not a big issue. If you fall ill, you've got comprehensive medical insurance. If you're under retirement age, if you have retired, you've got Form S1. You're in the Spanish healthcare system, so you've got to be covered. That's part of the deal. And then basically you get 2 renewals. So renewal at the end of year 1, that takes it to year 3, and then at the end of year 3, you again apply for the renewal. The renewals happen in Spain, not in your home country, and then after 5 years, long-term residency.
Is that automatic, or do you have to apply for that long-term residency?
You apply, but basically you say, look, I've been here for 5 years.
Yeah.
I haven't been out of the country for more than 10 months in the 5-year period, and I haven't been out of the country for more than 6 months consecutively. Okay. And then you'll get long-term residency. And long-term residency isn't citizenship. Citizenship is your passport, and you can really only apply for that once you've been in Spain for 10 years. Okay. But you'll at year 5, you show them that you've been here 5 years with all the financial resources and documents in place we talked about, and then you're away. Then you have to keep on renewing your residency.
Okay. What do applicants get wrong, or what don't they understand about this process that you wish they did? Because it sounds a little bit cumbersome, but perfectly doable. But you need advice, don't you? And you need to know, okay, I need to do this, this, and this, and then I need to wait and maybe do this, this, and this. I think to try and do it alone would be difficult. What do they get wrong?
Well, basically, if they take our advice and follow that advice, then we get them the visa, right? I think some people try and apply for all the documents in one go, and then get quite frustrated. Some of them run out of time. They've got to be dated within 3 months. they've got to be translated, they've got to have the apostille of The Hague. So sometimes that does fall out of bed. Probably the most frustrating aspect at the moment is the appointments in Spain for the TIE card.
Okay.
So those are taking a long time to get. But Spain is aware of that, and they've extended the visa for the first year and the time within which you can get the TI card to a year.
Okay.
You've got to try and apply for it as soon as possible, but they recognise that the appointments are hard to come by.
So a year should give you adequate time.
Yeah.
Let me ask you about dependents. So if I'm married and I want to come over with my partner and our son and daughter are back in the UK or the US or whatever, does this give them any rights or not? Or is it just for the primary couple?
No, exactly. So you can come as a married couple, and you can bring your children with you as well.
Is there an age limit to that? Do they have to be dependent on you financially?
Typically, they have to be dependent. Yeah.
Okay.
So we've acted for clients whose children are at university. We've had to prove that they are financially dependent on them.
Yeah.
Obtain statements from them. Look, I am at university, but I come home to Spain in my summer holidays, and I'm not independent financially at all. You know.
Okay.
So yeah, that's a very good point. But yeah. Basically, mum and dad come along, and they can apply for the visa for themselves and for the children.
Okay, but once you get into your own life, maybe you're 21, 22, and you got your own family, no, it's just for those parents.
Exactly. So in effect, this is a non-lucrative visa, so the children aren't allowed to work, right? So the parents are coming here, they're retirement age. But what we do find is like some people do come here as a family, say for a year to try it out.
Yeah, of course.
And they'll take a year out of their lives with their kids. But yeah, the kids wouldn't be allowed to work. Yeah.
So it's really important, I guess, that families, couples, singles are just really honest with you and set out what they're trying to achieve.
Yeah.
And of course, not everyone knows what they want to achieve in 5 years' time, but at least to tell you what the plan is so that you can then advise them, first of all, which is the best visa for them, the best way of doing it, and the best way in terms of timescales to apply.
Yeah, absolutely. And also, lawyers are all about preparation. You as a estate agent, it's all about location, right? So as you know, the tax year in Spain runs from January to December. If you sold your property in New York or London on the 1st of January and moved to Spain on the 2nd of January and bought a house on the 3rd, and you spend 183 days in Spain, you're a tax resident in that year.
By default.
By default. And Spain does tax homeowners when they sell their main residence. So you've got to be very careful about that, because Spain could look into the sale of your property in London or New York. So our advice there is, when you're planning to come to Spain, sell your assets before you become a tax resident in the same year.
To give some distance.
Give it some distance. If you're downloading a capital sum from your pension, do that in the year that you're not a tax resident. So just remember, 183 days, 6 months in Spain, and basically you're a tax resident. So we say to people coming to Spain now, right, have you spent any time in Spain this year? No. Okay. Well, if you move to Spain from the 1st of August and you've sold your property in the UK, you don't have to worry about CGT here. Okay. So that's timing is really quite important. And also, if you've got, in England, we've got ISAs, the individual savings plans. In America, they've got other financial products. As soon as you cease to be a tax resident in that country, some of those products automatically are sold, triggering capital gains, and they're put into a current account. So it's important to speak to a financial advisor as well if you've got those products. So you're basically changing your financial viewpoint from being an American or Australian or Brit to a Spanish taxpayer with investments, and it's important to take tax advice there as well.
The last question for you on this: what are the Spanish getting out of this? What are the state getting out of this?
Well, they are getting people are coming to Spain. I mean, first of all, it's an international treaty, so people are allowed to move freely so long as they prove that they've got sufficient financial resources to live on. So they're attracting people with a minimum sums of 36,000 euros as a married couple. Prior to that famous Brexit referendum, people were coming here and they didn't really have much money at all. And they would try and scrape around, get a job, etc. So certainly this visa process is controlling immigration to a certain extent.
Okay. Wow, Alex, thank you so much for that. I hope that's been beneficial. I think we've covered most, if not all, the points. If you've got any questions, drop us a line. We're also going to put on Alex's details as well. So if you want to contact them for expert advice, again, you'll be able to do that. But it's a really important topic. Thanks so much for your time.
My pleasure.
And we'll see you on the next one.
Look forward to it.